I'm Dick Hellman here in Washington, D.C. at the new headquarters of CIPAC, the Christians Israel Public Action Campaign, the registered lobby on behalf of the millions of Christians and other Bible believers across America and around the world who have me going to Capitol Hill and talking to the Senate and the House and to the White House and the State Department on behalf of a biblical outlook on Israel and U.S. national security. And I also had Merkel, the Middle East Research Center Limited, a cutting-edge research and studies organization, a think tank, if you will, that supports the efforts of CIPAC. We were, as you may recall, on Pennsylvania Avenue in the Reagan Building, and we enjoyed that very much, and most important, we were there because we felt the Lord had put us there on Pennsylvania Avenue to build a roadblock to the roadmap. And that, of course, happened. Those terrible, flawed plans to impose a peace settlement on Israel and her neighbors came to nothing, as we predicted would happen. Now, we're on Embassy Row, and we have a whole new vista of what can be done to help Israel progress to security and peace and have America really be what it always has said it wants to be, the best friend and ally of Israel. And so first and most important, I must praise this administration. President Trump has been just incredible. Words cannot describe what he has done that none of his predecessors, literally none of his predecessors were able to do or had the courage to do. So President Trump came in, and I predicted, as I spoke to a group of individuals, leaders, representatives of many different nations up on Capitol Hill, 3 weeks before President Trump was inaugurated, and everybody was concerned and quite alerted as to what, and with their questions as to what President Trump would do. And I said, you have to understand, he is a disruptor. And so America has elected him to disrupt the order, the usual order of things. And so that's what we can expect him to do. And he did it in spades. He has just blown out the lights, particularly with respect to Israel and the Middle East. Just a few things that he has done, which we've called for and worked for and even drafted the legislation on for many years that he has done, was to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's eternal, indivisible capital, which it really always has been, to put our U.S. Embassy there, to put the Consul General's office in Jerusalem under the ambassador, which it should have been from the beginning of the state, but never has been, and to stop the State Department from taking a long time to build a building, but instead using an existing building, just as we always had advised. Also, of course, President Trump withdrew us from the terribly flawed JCPOA, the agreement with Iran, which was not stopping or blocking Iran's path to nuclear weapons, but as Prime Minister Netanyahu said, it was paving the way to those weapons. And President Trump actually also recognized the Golan Heights as sovereign territory of Israel, and that's important. And now we believe that he will recognize Judea and Samaria, what the world calls the West Bank, as Israel's sovereign territory as well. But we'll talk about more of that in future programs. So we applaud and praise President Trump for his insight, for his courage, and for his willingness to take these steps and many more. Of course, he did block money going to the Palestinian Authority, the money that was going to pay terrorists in Israeli prisons to reward them for killing and maiming Israelis and Americans and others. This was the intent of the Taylor Force Act, named after a U.S. Army veteran who had been decorated in Iraq and Afghanistan, but was killed brutally on the streets in Tel Aviv. And so the Taylor Force Act said no money to the PLO, the Palestinian Authority, as long as they reward these terrorists for their terrible actions. And that has been implemented by this administration. Also, the Trump administration has cut off the money to those UN organizations which were opposed to Israel and to America. And that was a big step forward as well. So we could not be stronger in our praise and thanks for President Trump and his key officials like Secretary of State Pompeo and National Security Advisor John Bolton and Ambassador to Israel David Friedman, and until she resigned to go to other areas of work, Ambassador Nikki Haley at the United Nations, who was a great shining light and a breath of fresh air in that institution. So many thanks, President Trump, and we're looking forward to you completing the job, and we support you in these things that you're doing. In future shows, I'll talk about what is happening in Israel's political situation, which is quite different from ours and very convoluted, but I believe is showing the hand of God at work in the Middle East, and what will come in terms of a peace process, not the one that's being touted in the media, but the one that the Lord has shown me has some hope of success to really bring peace, well-being, and prosperity to Israel and the other nations of the Middle East. Thank you for watching today. I'll see you again next week. God bless you.